All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today we are going to be talking about Napoleon as the emperor and as the leader of France. We're going to be looking at the good things he did, and we're going to be looking at the bad things he did. And then, once we go through those two things, we're going to look at how he um, basically how he went against other countries and things like that, and how he tried to grow the French Empire. And he did, but he didn't. We're going to get into that too. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So, for the objective, we're going to basically look at the first one only today. We're going to look at the second and third one in the next class. Okay. But the first one says we're going to analyze the attack on Russia by Napoleon. So, we're going to look at this fight that he had with Russia, and it's pretty interesting. It's one of a kind type of battle, or should I say war, um, and you'll get what I mean when we go over it. Okay, so here is your warm up picture. Now, remember, Napoleon was not short. He wasn't like a tiny guy, like 3 foot, 4 foot something. No, he wasn't. He was about average height for the man back then, for men back then. But the thing is, he saw himself as tiny, and people, who didn't like him, and so that would draw him and depict him as tiny. So as you can see in this picture, he's a small guy, big old hat, type of thing. So here's my question to you. Looking at the picture, you see him cutting up a piece of the world. Do you think that he's going to be satisfied with that piece, or do you think he's eventually going to want more? So I want you to think about that. Is this guy Napoleon, if you especially if you remember from the last lesson how he started off, is he going to be just satisfied with that little piece of the world, or do you think he's going to be like, you know what, I want more? Like that other guy has half of the world, I want the other half. Or do you think he's be like, no, no, this is all I need, this is all I want? Okay, so think about it, write your response, okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. So, as emperor, Napoleon established a peace between France and the Catholic Church. He really had an agreement directly with the Pope, which is, if you're not Catholic, the Pope is the head of the Catholic Church. And so they basically come to an agreement saying that if France declares the Catholic Church, the Catholic faith, as the official church of France, then they will then not ask for the land they lost during the revolution. They're not gonna be like, well, hey, hey, look at that property once belonged to us. We want it back now. They're not gonna be like that. They're like, no, 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 no. We won't want it back. Hey, we lost it, but we need you to acknowledge that the Catholicism is, and the Catholic Church is the official church of France. Now Napoleon's thinking about it. He's like, you know what? They did own a lot of land. It's like I want to say it was 20, 30% of all the land in France. So that's a lot of land. You got it. You got an agreement. Okay. So there it is. Now, before Napoleon, during the time of the before actually even before the French Revolution, there were 300 different types of legal systems all throughout France, which meant like in one area of France, it was illegal to like kill a cow on Sunday. I'm just making that up. I'm just saying in this section. Now, over right next door, you could kill a cow on Sunday, but you couldn't uh, plant potatoes. You know, and each section, each part, like another part of France, had different laws, different things you could and couldn't do, and it was very like tedious because you might be moving into a new area and all of a sudden you find out, oh, it's illegal to chop down trees from the forest without permission. How were you supposed to know? You just came into this area, you needed wood, and you chopped it down. Okay. So when Napoleon became emperor, he changed it to the point where there was only 7 codes, right? And there was one in particular that was above all the most important, and that's the civil code, or we would know it as the Napoleonic Code. Now, what did this code say? Number one, there's equality for all citizens before the law. Don't care if you're rich, poor, or whatever. If you steal, you are going to be punished. Doesn't matter who your daddy is or where you work at, you know, doesn't matter. You broke the law, you're going to pay for it. Okay. The other thing is, said that people have the right to choose their jobs. Because if you remember, um, some people had to take the jobs of their parents, you know. Uh, so if your dad was a barber, you had to be a barber. If your dad was a mechanic, you had to be a mechanic. If your mom, you know, washed clothes, you had to do that, you know. But now he's like, no, 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 no. You get to choose what you want to do. You know, your life shouldn't be dictated by what your parents did, and so on and so forth. No, no, no. You pick what you want. The other thing he said was all religions will be tolerated. Now, again, yes, the Catholic Church was the official church of France, but that doesn't mean that that's the only religion. They're just saying officially, we are Catholic. But hey, there are other religions that are here. Christian, Calvinist, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. You know, so all religions were tolerated. Okay, just because someone was, let's say Jewish, they were not to be persecuted, things like that, just because they were Jewish. The serfdom and the feudal system, how it was back in the day, gone. No more. None of that stuff. Okay. Also, what he did was basically made divorce easier for women. Okay, because again, back then, women, once you married someone, that was it. You're married to him. So if you married the wrong guy, dang, I'm sorry. Now it was easier for women to get out of marriages where the guy was abusive, to spend all his money gambling, drinking, things like that. You know, The other really, really big one, which was really interesting, was that girls could inherit property. Because back in the day, it was like this: like, let's say a girl, just got married and her dad passed away. Okay. And that was his only child, his daughter. The land wouldn't go to her, it would go to the husband, you know. And let's say a girl inherits land, her dad dies, and now it's like, okay, well, what kids does he have? He has this one girl. We're going to sell it. Because yeah, she can't have this land. Unless she gets married. You know, then we can transfer the land to the husband. But now it's like, no, no, no. You inherit land. You get land from your father, mother, whoever. That land is yours now. So, pretty good things. Okay. Now let's look at the bad things that he did. All throughout France, there were about 73 newspapers. Napoleon shut down 60 of them because, again, he wants to control on what's being said in the newspapers. Uh, he banned books and other types of newspapers. And I hate to say, guys, but it's true. When somebody is trying to manipulate people, trying to take over them and tell them what to do, they tend to attack books. Don't read that. It's bad for you. Oh, so and so, wrote this book. These type of people, wake up and, crap like that. You hear it all the time on social media, you know, oh, don't believe this and that because these people are lying to you. you know, I hate that thing they say like, "Yo, stay woke." Really? Are you? How do you know? How are you? how are you saying this stuff is true? You're going this opposite way. What proof do you have? Oh, there's videos. It's not. Where are they at? This guy who did stuff and they killed him. Where's the evidence? If they know so well, where's the evidence at? Oh, they destroyed it, and you are the sole person who survived, who knows all this information. Yeah, no. Okay. New books had to be read by the government before they could be printed. And the sad thing is, even mail was torn up and read before it got to the person. So you might get a letter from your grandma, and all of a sudden you get like, "Oh, grandma wrote to me," and you look, and the paper's already, the envelope's already ripped open, and yeah, they already read your mail. They wanted to see what you guys are talking about. Are you saying stuff bad about the government, about the emperor, things like that? Now, Napoleon launched an attack on most of Europe. He wanted to conquer Europe. That was his goal. And he made allies with countries one of two ways. Okay. Now he would go to one country and be like, "Hey, let's be allies, this and that." They'd be like, "Oh, sure, we'd love to be allies. But we don't like this neighboring country. If you get rid of them, we will join you." No problem. Boom, boom, boom. If I went to a country and said, "Let's be friends, submit to me." No, we're not going to submit to you. You just take over them. Or they be like, "Let's be friends." Well, okay, sure, but here's the thing. I got a son and he needs to marry a queen or a princess. Oh, well, what do you know? I have a niece, so my niece can marry your son, and we'll be bonded through marriage. Awesome. So that's what happened. Okay. Now, if you look at the map, all the sections in blue, that's the area Napoleon conquered. And as you can see, he conquered quite a bit. All that area is under the French Empire. Excuse me. Countries like Britain, Portugal, Sweden, Russia, they don't like each other, but they really don't like France now. They really like Britain and Russia really don't get along. But the thing is, because they hate France more, they actually decide to team up. All right. So Napoleon tries to attack Great Britain, but here's the problem: Great Britain is an island, and he tries to attack um, Britain. Now, between Britain and France, there's a stretch of water. It doesn't look that big. It doesn't look that intimidating. But the thing is, it's rough waters, and with those winds, it can make the waves, instead of being like little tiny smooth things, it's like air, this, So Britain's like, well, if you want to fight, you come to us. We're not going to go to you. So Napoleon starts sending ships out there, and then the boats in the rough water, some turn over. Some boats are struggling, trying to stay afloat, trying to go against the water, and trying to survive. So when the time those ships that survive get to Britain, those soldiers and those sailor guys, they're tired. They're exhausted. They fought to stay afloat. And then all of a sudden, here's Britain, and they're like, "All right, let's do this." And they were ready for a fight. Because you have to remember, typically, countries that are islands, they have an awesome navy. Because, again, how does people get to those islands? They need ships. So, island countries tend to have like a large navy, really strong navy. Britain is one of those countries. So, Napoleon goes, "Okay, you know what? We'll take over Britain later. We'll go back to them later on. Once the seas calm down and things like that. Let's look at Russia. Let's attack Russia." So on June 24th, 1812, he took about 600,000 soldiers, crossed the Niemen River, which is basically the border between Europe and Asia. Because remember, Russia is in the continent of Asia. They cross it and they head into Russia. Now, as they're marching through towns and stuff like that, some towns have some Russian soldiers, not much, and them and the citizens start retreating. They start leaving. Now, here's a key thing I want you to remember for right now. June 24th. That's in summertime, right? Think of what kind of clothing you're wearing during the summer. All right. Are you wearing a jacket? Are you wearing boots? Are you wearing a scarf and a beanie and some of that? Chances are you're not, right? So keep that in mind. Okay. As Napoleon is going through Russia, he's going this battle, this battle, this battle, and he's winning. September 7th, he fights, I'm going to kill this name, Borodino. He fights there, and there they meet a good chunk of some Russian soldiers, and they fight. Da, 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 da. And France wins. They kick the crap out of Russia, but they lose about 30,000 men. Okay. And about a week later, they arrive in Moscow. Now, in Moscow, they have like walls and stuff like that. So people go inside there and they're just waiting. Now, what they do is pretty smart. So here is like the walls and stuff like that, right? On the outside, there are homes and buildings and stuff like that. What they decided to do was basically burn those buildings and those homes before those people went inside. It's within the walls. So when France came, they're like, oh, dang it, we can't use these buildings for like these homes. We can't stay there because they're all burnt down to the ground. So they had to take out their tents and things like that. So they start attacking. Napoleon's like, okay, Russia, they're gonna quit. I know they are any day soon. 5 weeks pass, and Russia has not quit yet. They haven't surrendered. It's gotten to the point where food is now getting really low. Fresh water is getting really low. And now it's in October. So this winter, the fall is starting to turn into winter. And if you don't know how a Russian winter is, it's freezing. Russian winter, especially at the top, it's like one of the coldest winters you could ever feel. Napoleon's like, oh, come on. Oh, I know they're going to surrender. They're going to surrender. And the Russians are like behind the wall going, we're not going to surrender. So Napoleon retreats and goes back to France. By the time he gets back to the Niemen River, he's only has 10,000 men left. From 600,000 to 10,000. Along the way, people died from exposure from the cold weather. Because remember, they didn't take boots, they didn't take sweaters, jackets, things like that. Why? Because remember, when they crossed the river, it was summertime. No one thought, oh, we're going to be here for 5 months, things like that. The way they thought was like, man, we're just kicking butt all the way through. We'll be done in a month or two. No one thought to bring boots and blankets and things like that. So a lot of guys, they froze. Some people starved. Some people died of hypothermia, things like that. So here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. Let me bring up the map real quick. So as you can see on this map, Napoleon won every single battle along the way, all the way to Moscow. He won, but yet he loses the war. How is that possible? How do you win every single major battle and yet lose the war? You basically surrounded the town. How do you lose it? All right, so that goes to your question. Would you say Napoleon's attack on Russia was a success or not? What do you think? Again, he didn't lose any battles. Nothing. He did not lose any battles. He won all the way through Russia, but he retreated. And he went from 600,000 soldiers to 10,000. So, in your opinion, do you think his attack on Russia was successful or not? And why? Why do you think it was or wasn't? Okay. So once you've written your part for this, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. All right. Uh, so with that being said, you guys take care. You be safe. I'll see you guys later. Okay.